Kirk, thanks for your patience. Welcome back to F.A.C.E.
How are you doing, sir?
Good, Kirk. How are you? So, looks like you prepared something. Feudal forecast review and more worthless.
I've been calling my forecast futile for a while.
What? Who was?
I have been.
Okay. All right. Well, I've seen you hit things. I've seen bullseyes too. So anyway, it's great. Look, if you can't make fun of yourself and laugh at yourself, you're taking yourself too seriously. So I'm interested in what you see as far as futility in the markets for 2023. Thanks for being here around the holidays, buddy.
Well, thank you for having me, as always. Why don't we start by reviewing what you guys just talked about? Man, I tell you what, it's hard for me to get up an extra half an hour early to be with you every morning, but you guys are awesome. I mean, we really have a good show in the morning.
Yeah. Well, it's not easy to be a trader, so we do our best to add value, help people get there. Yeah.
That's why I have quit trading, and I'm a position trader, right? I hold things for a year or two or three versus, a minute or an hour or a day. But I did take a look at your trading offer, funding a trader, and I don't know, man, I'm thinking about it. It's I don't think it's all that difficult to make 25 to 50% a year if you're a really good trader. I've done it several times, and it usually is coming out of a bull market or bear market. So trading the pivots, and I think that's what we're closing in on.
All right. Yeah, I wanted to ask you because I saw your tweet previewing this, and you did call for a double bottom last time we talked, and the October low compared to the July low was just a shade lower. You could call it a double bottom. And then you said the double bottom, quote, will give way. Does that mean you think it's going to take it out, and then the January effect takes hold and we get a huge rally after one more flush?
I don't know that we're going to get a flush this year. I think we're going to.
So the October lows are safe still
for now, for a quarter or two. We'll see.
Okay.
I think here you guys talked about this stock. Let me flip this up real quick. Apple? You guys talked about Apple.
Okay.
This is maybe the most important stock to watch because it has such a big impact on QQQ, right? So I'm more of a quant guy than a chart guy. I really like to keep track of the volume weighted indicators and then your basic RSI, money flow. I like the Shaken. I like these moving averages, and then I use the Elliott wave oscillator just to remind me when to ask a shooter for an Elliott wave chart. I don't think it's unreasonable to think that Apple gets down to 110-ish. I think you said 115. I actually think that range right in here, right where I'm pointing, is inevitable. The question becomes, does it break through there? There's a huge air gap right in there.
Right. To 80, that's a pre-COVID high.
Yeah. And I tell you what, I think that Apple can make a run at 80 if the Fed stays tight, if China goes back to, battening down the hatches, or if the price of oil gets up towards 100 again and stays there. So there's a lot that could go wrong next year. And Apple, I think, is going to be a harbinger, especially since I think that Apple's business in China, both the supply side and the demand, is
over.
Well, it's more tenuous than it's ever, there's been in a long time, right? I mean, I told people to buy Apple on Market Watch way back here. I wrote an article saying that Apple's not rotten. And man, did I get mocked. I'm just mock. So, being from the Bob Euchre school of humility, I can shrug it off.
And everyone owns it, Kirk, and it's 8% of the market cap, and it's considered all year long. Well, people are watching things being taken out to the woodshed, has shown good relative strength up until the last month or so. So
Right.
it's the last thing people will sell,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I can't see that October low holding. Maybe if we only go to 115, there could be enough rotation to keep the market going, but 80, then I think you're talking about, 3,200 S&P if it goes to 80. Don't you
Right.
think how can the market make progress without this gorilla?
It can't.
Okay.
It can't. I mean, when you take a look at the top 7 stocks in the stock market, as far as market cap, if they're not doing well, the market can't do well, right? And we're talking about the S&P 500 and QQQ. The small caps have already been destroyed. The mid caps have mostly been destroyed. The last thing that happens in a bear market is people throwing the towel on what they think is safe, which is large caps. We both know that that's completely untrue, that large caps are really meaningfully safer than mid caps or small caps. I would argue that good mid caps are a safest spot to be in the market. But when people throw on the towel on large caps, when they start selling their S&P 500 funds, that's when you get your whoosh. That's when you get your big volume that wipes out all the weak hands. And that's when the people that I've been working with, I'm consulting to 2 hedge funds and talking to 2 private equity firms. That's when they come in and write big checks. That's when Blackstone and KKR and everybody else who's a mini version of them comes in and starts writing checks. And they use a lot of borrowed money because at that point, Jay Powell or whoever is in the Federal Reserve starts throwing money at the problem. And they know to wait for the almost free money. So this period we are in now, I call it the middle of the market. It's very hard to trade. Some of your guys talked about that today. It's tough trades today, so why bother? I think there's going to be a lot of tough trades, I'd say, over the next month or two. At some point, you get the final stomp on earnings expectations and the Fed getting the correction they want. So the Fed's going to talk tough until they get the stock market correction they want. They're not there yet. You've had 7 past and present Fed people come right out and say since spring, we want to see a big correction. We want to see price discovery. And people want to talk about unemployment and inflation for the Fed. That's not the Fed's real job. What's the Fed's real job, Dale?
I have no idea.
You do too. Protect the dollar. The Fed's real job is to protect the dollar and to make it what
that was the Treasury's purview.
And the Treasury is official, but who's been handling monetary policy for 20 years now?
Yeah.
And really even before that. But for since Greenspan, who I thought did a bad job, but the Federal Reserve, especially since Bernanke, their job has been to shepherd the dollar into the post-petrodollar era, which is coming. So I always keep that in perspective, and I know people want to argue about it. I mean, I've been right 20 years on this, so I don't argue it too much anymore. In any case, here's what I said about the S&P 500 and some other stuff last year. I said the S&P 500 will break 5,000. It got really close, did not get there. We get 48 something, and then it would go below 4,000, while likely ending the year near the lows.
Yeah, good call.
Getting close. Clarified it a little bit. I specifically said that the S&P 500, and these are from articles right around New Year's last year, so these are year-old articles. Middle 3,000s. So here we are at what, 3780 or 3800.
Yeah.
We'll see what the end of the year does with the last 7 trading days. I don't know if we'll be closer to 4,000 or 3,700 or 3,600. You know, I think that most of the tax loss selling is over with. So
Yeah.
we'll see. But you know, 100 points in your direction from here, I think, is your range. What do I think about next year? I've been writing this chart up for a long time. I will say that when this correction ends, whether it ends around 33, 100, or if it gets all the way down to 2,800, where I think that Jay Powell comes to the rescue, if we get under 3,000. I do think that we have a huge presidential cycle rally, and on the dollar having a longer term drift down, just a drift, nothing horrible. But you'll have the dollar weaken just a little bit. And we'll talk about the dollar more, but there's potential for this, what I've been calling the Armageddon zombie apocalypse. But you can also call it the Jeremy Grantham zone, right? Because he's super bearish. I don't think we get down here, but we'll know when we get into this area. We'll start to know if it's going to keep falling. I don't think it will, and here's why: labor is tight all over the world, and it's because global middle classes are expanding, while at the same time, aging demographics are taking people out of the workforce. So there has to be a huge shift in employment around the world, and the new employees are going to be immigrants where they need them, like America. What was one of the most interesting things that Powell said the other day, in my opinion? Well, let's ask you for it. What do you think that Powell said was the most important 4 words he said?
Are you interviewing today?
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, here's what I heard. We don't have enough people. Powell said we don't have enough people.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and he's hinted at it 3 or 4 times. He's telling Congress, look, we understand that xenophobia gets you votes. However, we need 3 more million workers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, let's figure out how to do it. And, that's up to them. Stop saying illegal and make them legal or something, right? And people can ask about, how do we get more people? Why don't we just have more babies? Well, it takes them 25 years to get into the workforce, right? So we have this problem now. So the future is demographics and robots, right? So demographics and robots are destiny, and that's going to be the name of an article in January that I write. So the more important index to me is QQQ. I really don't trade SPY. I just talk about it. I like QQQ because it's been the better index for 20 years, right? So since post.com, QQQ has been the better index by quite a bit. And I don't see that changing until around 100 more stocks are booted out of the S&P 500, and that's going to take some time. So, you have your... Go on.
This after this, we get some of your support levels. You believe that the old names that led the way for the last decade are going to reemerge and be leaders again, or is there going to be a rotation to commodity type stocks, cyclical type stocks, or does it have to be tech that leads us again?
So I think that all of the big cloud companies and everything that they touch are going to do well. So Google, Amazon, Microsoft, they're going to be gorillas. I think that Apple will not be the leader anymore, but it'll still do very well. I think NVIDIA has a huge upside. There's a bunch of other stocks in QQQ that I think do very well. Micron, I think, is going to do well. Tesla, I don't know. I took a call from Elon Musk this morning. He was offering me some job at a social network. I don't know what he's going to do, but we'll see what Tesla does.
You'd be great. I get lots of retweets from you. So, okay. So I think we have your stock view, right?
Yep.
It was.
Okay. So here's the summary. Let's have fun with oil. Now, that's usually something that I say to my fiance. But let's talk about this one, because we've talked about oil on this show for a very long time.
I'm sorry, Kurt. This is Blake. I just have to say I just laughed out loud there and almost fell out of my chair. So okay, I'm gonna let you continue. Thanks for being here today.
Yep. Yeah, I try to have fun with these shows. On my webinar on Mondays and Thursdays, I have to edit once in a while because I use some colorful language sometimes. I call it farmers' words, because I used to have breakfast with the farmers out where I used to live every week. And they don't hold back a lot, and I kind of adopted that. I thought that the price range on oil was be 50 to 80 for an extended period of time. It looks like it'll be 60s to 80s for an extended period of time. And that doesn't mean it can't go outside of those ranges. It just means that that's primarily where it's going to be. So I think the range on oil is probably 10 or 15% higher than I thought it was going to be. So I started saying that on the last show I was on here, which was September or August, right around Labor Day. So, thanks, Joe, for having to refill the SPR. But I do have some pretty interesting picks right now. We've been buying Occidental since it was in the 20s and 30s, and we sell cash secured puts every time it's around 60, because the warrant prices for Berkshire Hathaway are at 59.62 or something. And Berkshire Hathaway is going to buy Occidental. I mean, I just don't think that there's any doubt about that in my mind. If nothing else, it puts a floor under the price. Here's a company that you should know about if you're an investor or a trader, mainly because it's small cap for both reasons, and because they've built this business pretty well. About 4 or 5 years ago, I said there should be a company called Permian Resources.
Okay.
That's what this is called.
This is a fracking company. They frack.
Kinda. They went in. These are private equity guys that went into Texas, into the Permian Basin in particular, and were buying up assets when when all these little companies went bankrupt.
Right.
So they were able to buy all kinds of Permian assets, including a lot of conventional assets. And their cost of production is super low. And they just bought Centennial. So that was a great company. I think this company probably gets bought out in the 20s, maybe the 30s. But if they hold on to it, because of the conventional resources, and this is what people miss about Occidental, this is what they miss about Pioneer, this is what they miss about this company, and law of small numbers, it's going to grow more. The conventional resources that are out there are almost free, right? They're almost free. They just drip oil and gas in nonstop without much input cost. So that's the big attraction. It's not that you have a frackable asset, and they do, but it's that they have all this other baseline cash flow that they can decide what to do with. So they can turn down the investment in this company to almost nothing and still make money. Or if the price of oil is in this range where we think it's going to be 60s to 80s, they have cost of production in the 30s. So, it's a good company. I think it's completely overlooked by the market because the symbol changed. I think it probably goes.
Where does it trade at, Kirk?
It's like $8 or $9 a share right now. So we were buying it down there the first time. It ran for us a little bit. We wrote some covered calls; those expired, and now I'm buying it again and selling cash secured puts. Another company that you guys want to be aware of is New Fortress Energy. This company is brought to you by the same man who brought you the Greek Freak. So I have had an opportunity to at least walk by Wes Edens at a Bucks game, and he's got his own money in this thing. They have a technology for loading natural gas on the water, at the wellhead, in the ocean. So, you probably want to be very aware of this one. Kinder Morgan, if you like pipelines, that has a lot to do with the hydrogen and carbon dioxide. Then Ametis has blown by all their estimates for contracts. They are a biofuels company doing something unique in California, and they might have the highest margins of any refiner in America in the next couple of years.
They make biofuels?
Yes. Yeah, they
Like using what, soybeans and
no cow crap and
good.
and-
Get rid of that stuff.
and
Right.
and
So
almonds.
they use a digester
Yeah,
to okay.
they make
Yeah.
natural gas
Yeah.
that they've contracted. I don't know. He won't tell me because I've interviewed the CEO. Apparently he can't tell me. But he's either contracted with Pilot or TA or somebody, one of the big truck stop companies in California, to sell natural gas to the trucking fleets.
Huh.
And
I didn't know
renewable
that
natural
though.
gas.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Okay.
And then
Some
jet
cool
fuel.
ideas.
Yeah, well, and jet fuel that comes from they take the almond orchards and other orchards as they die, and they do every 15, 20 years. And I've had orchards. They die, and normally you just burn them up, and all that carbon's released into the atmosphere. These guys take it and turn it into jet fuel. So, and then they carbon capture the rest of it and put it into the ground. So these guys are in the CapEx phase right now. That's why everybody hates them. That's why they're heavily shorted. These guys are ripe for a massive, massive short squeeze sometime in the next year.
Where's it? What exchange is it on?
Yeah.
Over the counter?
Yeah. No. It's a regular stock. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
All right.
yeah. So take a look at this one and actually understand what they're doing. And the shorts are beating it down right now because they don't have revenues yet, right? They have a little bit of revenue. They have a paid for plant refinery in India. And if they need to sell it, they can sell it. I don't think they're going to need to sell it. All right. Okay. So let's talk about the dollar. It's not easy being a dollar bull, right? So for the last 10 years, I've been telling everybody dollar is going to rise. It has. Here's the next thing. It's going to stay strong. And it's going to stay strong a really long time. Now, is it going to spike even higher? No, because they can release the pressure valves. And as a part of my transition here, Bitcoin is going to be adopted as a hedge against a too strong dollar, not only by the emerging markets, but China and Saudi Arabia and Russia and whoever else wants to keep our hegemon power a little bit at bay. So Bitcoin's real, and it's not like all the other cryptos. I've said all the other cryptos are going to zero except for a handful. So you should be bullish on the dollar. Don't fall into that trap of the dollar is going to collapse. Highly tradable, right? Every currency is highly tradable. One of the trades you guys started to talk about today was the Canadian dollar. Trade the Canadian dollar, not against the US dollar. Trade the Canadian currency and the peso against other currencies, against the euro in particular. The whole of North America, the United States, Canada, Mexico are going to do really well for a really long time because we're starting to work together the right way. And the knock-on effect for Canada and Mexico, because they're starting right with smaller economies and, the unique things in each country. Canada is going to be a big breadbasket company. Mexico is going to clean up a lot of the crime. and they're going to do very well. I think Mexico is going to be a very good partner for a very long time. And if anybody's been paying attention to Mexico, the new technology to combat crime, they're going to win that crime war finally.
Okay. Where are you at on CBDCs?
I mean, I don't think they matter, right? We already have the SWIFT system. I don't think that they create any new value. I don't think they change the way the currencies are priced. I think that they're just a new conveyance mechanism. I think that's all they are. So, you haven't seen the yuan go through the roof. It's just another way to transmit their currency. That's all it is.
Okay, so you don't buy into like the surveillance qualities of it and the control aspect of it.
We are in a surveillance society. Unless you get completely off the grid, and even if you do, I don't know that you can get away from being tracked. I've almost given up on trying to fly under the radar and I did it for a long time. I wasn't a prepper or anything, but I kept a low profile, and then I was like, go on social media, start using my phone to buy stuff. It doesn't matter, man. They know where you are if they want to know where you are. And you have to work really hard to be a bad guy nowadays. And, companies like Silvergate made it a little easier, but that's coming to an end too. So,
okay.
FTX made it easy to be a bad guy. Well, now they're underwater, and Bankman-Fried's going to jail. So, unless he uses those hundreds of millions of dollars he stole, and I have no doubt in my mind that he did it, to disappear, go to Nicaragua or something. So we'll see.
Okay, so be a good boy, and Santa will also give you a nice present.
Right? Yeah, there
All
you
right.
go. All right. So here, last time I was on, right about here, I said the dollar is peaking and will head to the top yellow line. How's that?
Yeah, there was one more push because
Yeah.
that was around the 112 level, went to 114 and
Yep.
change, but close enough for government work.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right. So I think the dollar is going to have a permanently higher range. I don't think it's going to get into this zone maybe ever again, or at least for a very long time. I think it'll be up here for a very long time, and I think it'll.
So max
tend,
upper 80s. Max
I think it's
upper
gonna
80s?
it's gonna tend towards 100.
Okay.
Right. And this is DXY 2. I use this just so I
Okay.
can color on it.
Right. All right.
All right. So let's finish with some fun. Bitcoin is still going to six figures. This is the short argument. And this is something I said in an interview with Dr. Sean Stein-Smith. And that was a little bit after I talked to Meb Faber. Look, the reason why Bitcoin is important is because it was created probably in China so the Chinese could launder money out of China. That's probably how it came to be. It's not what the white paper says, but if you take a look at how Bitcoin was used initially, that's what it did. It moved money out of China. So what does that tell you about Bitcoin? Its main use is to make it hard to track the people who have it, and it is a diversification against central bank currencies in general, against the dollar, yuan, euro. Online. Oh, did you lose me?
No, no.
All right. I just got an announcement that we were online. So Bitcoin is getting beat up in this whole crypto winter. I've said a number of times, most cryptos are going to zero, right? When I can go on my computer and create a cryptocurrency in a half an hour just by reading some instructions, it's not really money. However, there are projects out there that are a big deal. Bitcoin is the most important one. But the SWIFT system is already working with Ripple and Ethereum, right? Those are projects there. Ripple is now also with Bank of America. I think I misspoke there. It's Chainlink and Ethereum over at SWIFT, Ripple at Bank of America. JP Morgan's getting involved. So there are certain cryptocurrencies that will survive because they are the backbone of projects for moving money around, and digital contracts. Digital contracts will be a big deal. Now, is the value in Ethereum and Ripple and Chainlink going to go up like Bitcoin? I don't think so, but they will be better income generators because you get paid for using those coins, those tokens, for processing information, and you get paid for processing the information. That's the best way to understand it. So there will be a handful that survive, basically the ones that are adopted by the financial system, and then Bitcoin, because somewhere here. Oh, here you go. It's a dollar hedge. And for the very wealthy, it's kind of a golden passport. And we might see the first golden passport from Mr. Sam Bankman-Fried, because if he has any brains in his head, he ain't coming back to the United States. So if he really stole money, which I think he did, he should use some of that money to disappear, or at least, live the Snowden life, right? So we'll see. We'll see if he comes back. He might just be dumb enough to come back. But if I had stole hundreds of millions of dollars, I think I'd probably use it to not go to jail for 30 or 40 years.
Yeah, that's not where I want a vacation. I'd rather be broke and free than rich, fake, taking heat.
Yeah, so, I don't know what the list of non-extradition countries are, but I gotta think that he just might end up in one. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe he really does feel bad about it.
I just hope he gets a good haircut.
And I've been calling that guy disrespectful and a train wreck for over a year. And I really
just jealous of the guy.
No, I look, man, I make 6 figures from a spare room in my house. I'm okay. But I take a look at him and I just think, I've thought for a long time that he was hosing people and nobody wanted to listen. And then when he was buying up all those companies in May, June, July, whatever that was, because that other thing fell apart, I was like, where's he getting the money? It's like the money's coming out of thin air. And it turns out he was. Yeah. So, you have to really consider what's going on in the world. When you see something that just looks a little bit fishy, ask yourself, is it fishy? It might be.
Kirk, where's the best place for people to follow your work and get involved with you?
All right. So I'm writing a couple reports. Just go to fundamentaltrends.com. After 7 or 8 interviews, I finally decided to put this page up for you. Fundamentaltrends.com is mine. There's a free special reports library on it. Just sign up for the free special reports library. You'll get my quarterly game plans. You're going to get a bunch of stuff in the next couple of weeks. And then there's a couple of special reports that I've got halfway done. So one's the future of energy, how the transition is going to go. I think we've had a lot more clarity on that, I'd say, in the last year or so. And then the 4th industrial revolution, which is tied to what might turn into a book. We'll see if anybody will pay me to make it into a book from a report. But demographics and robots are destiny. That's what's coming. There's not going to be a lot of manufacturing jobs left in the world down the road. It's going to be robots building stuff and engineers making sure the robots don't break. So
I've been waiting for the return of the robot from Lost in Space. So
I saw him online in a video.
Yeah, one of my favorites. So Kirk, some great ideas that you shared with us today in the energy patch and with Bitcoin. I'm actually going to buy one this year, and tell Scott I'll need his help to actually put it in a wallet, because I only have a leather wallet at this time. So I'd like to see the liquidation break in the markets and take Bitcoin down to 14, and I'm going to buy one. I like its portability aspect. So
finally You're one of those rich guys. You might have to disappear, right?
Yeah, I'm going to disappear with my 14 grand and live in the jungle. That's my
Hey,
with my laptop.
Can I address one of the questions in the room real quick before we go off?
Go ahead.
Somebody says, well, I'm talking about the 25-year future. Really, I'm talking about the 10-year future, 5 to 10 years. And so keep that in mind. The next 5 to 10 years are a lot of inflection points, and they're very tradable. So if you understand the longer term, the intermediate and shorter term moves are going to make a lot more sense. And obviously a lot of it's just overbought and oversold, right? And you guys are awesome at that. I mean, ForexAnalytix, I tell you what, since I met you guys, I just am amazed at how good you guys are at what you do. And to the point where, Shooter is working with me now. So, don't dismiss what I'm talking about for subjective reasons, for biases. Everything that I talk about usually comes to pass a lot faster than people think, and it becomes obvious to the markets sooner than people think. So while I might be 2 or 3 or 4 years early or 5 years early, sometimes I'm trading it differently than I'm seeing it, the futurist view. But the futurist view helps keep you with your eye on the flag on the top of the mountain, right? Your eye on the prize. The trades between now and then, depending on what your time frame on trades are, right? If you're hour to hour, it doesn't matter, right? But if you're swing trading, longer term trades, to position trades, understanding the real direction of the world is a big deal. And I normally say this off the air, but I've only invested about $250,000 in my life. And over the last 20 some odd years, I've invested about $250,000. It's worth roughly 20-fold right now. And it's been a little higher and a little lower. But I'll tell you, the position trades are a big deal. And I think that with as good of a trader batch as you guys are, and women too, I think that you can make a lot of money trading the pivot points. And, maybe you can create the next Robin Hood after you get super, super wealthy trading the pivots. Some of these pivots are going to be violent, and you can make home run trades on them. So just understand the big picture, because it'll help you with those home run pivot trades.
All right, Kirk. I'm going to have to wrap here, and appreciate it. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Happy New Year, and always rooting for you. Good hunting, and everyone, you can find Kirk on Twitter at Kirk Spano, and he showed you go sign up for his report and pay attention to the things that Kirk is saying. You could integrate them into your, your 5-year plan. So thanks, buddy.
Yep. Take care, everybody. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, and Festivus for the rest of us.
All right. Kirk Spano, everyone.
Right,
thank you, brother. Adios.
Adios.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.